Yes.
Hey, good afternoon. It's Tuesday, 5/13/2019. Happy birthday to my sister, and welcome to A Seat at the Table. Today we have Jesse Kearns, who is the pastor at my church, First Christian Church Disciples of Christ at 295 East Washington Avenue. And what Jesse and I are going to talk about today, he's going to lay a foundation for what the church is about. But more importantly to this show today is, what does all mean all, Jesse? And where does that come from, and what do we do in regards for that?
Well, thanks for having me on the show today, Lisa. All means all is actually a slogan that the denomination itself came up with, I want to say about 10 years ago. And it was to show what we are about as far as our table being welcome to anybody. Because we think that there is a theological foundation in the Bible about how no matter where you are in the Bible, whether you're in the Old Testament or the New Testament or whatever story you're talking about, all means all. In other words, God always welcomes people to the table. And so we practice that open table at First Christian Church by using our building, using our facilities as the proverbial table, and welcoming as many people as we can to use that building or to share in that table.
And that goes back to what the whole purpose of the show is anyway, and what we talked about on the first show was we're missing that family table.
Sure.
So we're missing the conversations around the table, and we're missing that. So I know for a fact that, and you can actually chime in, Jesse, and tell me what I'm missing.
Okay.
At our table, what we do is we welcome Shalom Free Clinic every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Crisis Care Advocacy and Triage, CCAT, is part of the congregation. The First Christian Church in Paradise, who lost their home up in Paradise, now worships at our church.
Yes.
We NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness, hold their meetings there, and we're having a big round table with NAMI California there coming up, I think, in a couple weeks. NA, Narcotics Anonymous, AA.
And we're talking several NA and AA meetings.
Right, the bipolar group.
Yes, bipolar depression, bipolar support alliance.
And what's the other? You said there's a Mexican church. What church is that?
Agua Viva is our Hispanic church there, and also periodically we host the Syrian Orthodox Church for their high holy days during the year.
And we also host Safe Space. So this year, when it was in the middle of emergency, we opened up for 2 weeks. That wasn't exactly Safe Space, but it was a safe haven for those suffering any form of mental illness.
Yeah, and
homelessness.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing too. Is that was the Red Cross had called us not long after the first big rain after the fire that turned that lot next to Walmart into a lake, and they were looking for short-term shelter for folks, and so they went to some of the Safe Space churches that host Safe Space, and we're actually a Red Cross evacuation center. What keeps us from being a better one is that we don't have any shower facilities there. So, for example, when the Oroville Dam incident happened a couple of years ago, they called us and asked if we could host or house the people who are volunteering down at the fairgrounds to stay and just have a place where they can, after they get done with their 12-hour shift, can come and sleep and have a meal and things like that. So Red Cross has used us in the past for things like that. So when that need for getting people out of Lake Walmart into some shelter came up, Red Cross contacted us, and we said, of course.
Right, so that's right, and so that's what makes me proud to, attend this church. We also have the Center for what does Mary do?
The Spiritual Care Center?
Yes, the Spiritual Care Center, and bereavement groups for those who are suffering from any type of trauma due to death or dying and those kind of things.
Yes. Yeah, she hosts some groups there. Also, just recently, we have a group called Resilience Resources, a bunch of pastors in the area got together and we have formed Resilience Resources, which is um, we're trying to provide counseling for those who are campfire survivors, people who have been affected by the campfire in any sort of way. Which, if you want to get technical, that's about anybody in Butte County, right?
Right.
And so we're actually having our first meeting tonight. It's just kind of preliminary. Here's what we are and what we're about at Faith Lutheran Church from 6 to 8. But one of the churches that is providing space for those counseling meetings is First Christian Church.
Right, and then the other thing is too, didn't we have a couple people? We did put the chat, Simplicity Village, one of the tiny homes in our parking lot for people to come by and visit.
We are fostering a chat house, and it's wonderful because people ask questions, and it's great to be able to give them some information on that.
Right, and didn't we have a campfire survivor out in a trailer in the parking lot too?
Yeah, we had a couple. We actually housed one in our Bethany room. It's kind of we call it our living room or our den of the church. And we were able to house 2 people there, actually 3 people if you really want to get technical, during that period of time. And we also had a trailer out on the side of our church from survivors of the campfire too.
Right. And the thing about this is, Jesse, talk about how important it is to have those conversations. I mean, Jesse's, I have to tell you that the reason why I attend this church is because of the ministry and the ability to do outreach. The other thing is, too, is that there are people within our church, and it's a very old church, and they started out just being, okay, this is what we are. And I thank God that you and Mary came to the church and have opened the eyes of many of the elders. I mean, we have one, I call it my favorite Barbara story, and she was really against certain things that were happening until she went and experienced it for herself. So she came to safe space, and she got to know the people. Right. And she got to listen to the story. And she sat in her wheelchair at the end of the table. There's a little woman who's lovely, one of my favorite people in the entire universe. I just love her. And she sat at the end of the table and poured juice and milk and knew that Tom wanted 3 glasses of milk because she knew that he loved milk and didn't get it enough, right? Mm-hmm. So what are we able to do with our people, and what are our people opening up to?
Yeah. A lot of churches struggle with what their purpose is. And unfortunately, in our culture, especially, church has become a place where you get religious goods and services for the time that you put into it, and it's a place of worship, and it's a place where you go to get your good feels for the week. And I'm not saying that isn't a component of what church is about, but I'm saying that's not the primary mission of the church. The primary mission of the church is to be like Jesus, to do the things that Jesus did, to go where Jesus went, and to provide the healing ministry that Jesus provided. And that's what we're about. We're not just folks who want to sit in our pews. We want to go out and actually do the mission. But it's hard because when you've been culturally conditioned to view the church as a haven for saints, you forget that Jesus didn't hang out with the saints. He hung out with the people on the margins of society. He was somebody who gave time and energy to the homeless, to the widows, to the sick, to the poor. And that's what we did. I had to come to Jesus meeting with the church and basically tell them, hey, we have 3 things. Every entity has 3 things. We have time, we have resources, we have energy. And we need to be putting those things together to figure out what we're going to be doing in mission in the church. Now, we can either just just dwindle and die, because let's face it, just about every church right now in our country is experiencing decline. Even the evangelical churches, the mega churches, are experiencing decline. So we can just run out of our resources and just die slowly and painfully, or we can say, you know what, we're old, we're tired, we don't have the energy to do ministry anymore, so we just want to take what we have as far as resources go and give it to somebody else, and then just let us go retire. Or we can use our time and our resources to go on out and do good ministry, find out what the heartfelt ministry needs of the community are, and be actively involved in that. And that is what the church decided to do probably about 6 years ago. And that's a part of what we're doing right now. We're actively in ministry, partnering with people in town like Stonewall Alliance, like Chat, like Safe Space, like your ministry. And I consider what you do as a ministry. These are people who we want to undergird and support. And the best thing that we can offer is our facilities and some of the people in our church, like our favorite Barbara, somebody who has been raised and was kind of that old guard who thought that, what church was all about is just providing good space for fellowship activities and things like that. She didn't really see the church as someplace that we would open up for anybody. But once she was involved in that, once she saw that the folks who are in the greatest need right now are human beings too, who have heartfelt needs, she was able to kind of be their grandma there for the weeks that they were at Safe Space.
Well, not only that, but the amount of folks that are unhomed or just need a place to come. And the beautiful thing that I love about it is that even all of our elders, walk around and say hello every day.
Yeah.
Every Sunday, you're welcome. So, Barbara and Peg, and there's a whole flock of them that will greet you at the door, and then will walk around and say hello to you. The one thing that I miss the most is Lucille, because Lucille is a 92-year-old that my son and I were caregiving with their Alzheimer's, and she now is a little bit lost in her own mind, but really a lovely, still woman. But she always went around and hugged everybody, and at 92 years old, you love that, right?
Yeah. And that's what we really want to try to be, is we want to try to be every church thinks they're a friendly church, every church thinks they're a welcoming church, but what we want to do is make sure that we are actually doing that, not just saying it, but doing it. And some of the things that we've tried to do, it has been hard to get people to see, but that's one thing that I think we've always had going for us, is that we do have genuinely friendly people at the church. And so it wasn't much of a stretch to just have them extend that hospitality to people who are not a part of our fellowship.
Well, yeah, and we have one guy. I'm just going to tell this kind of cute story. So his name is Eddie, and I've had his stuff, in my car like forever. And I finally took it to storage because it's hard to find him. He's around here, and he usually shows up at the church at one point or another. And I haven't been to church for a couple weeks, and you know what? Between Jesse and Nancy, they both sent me videos of him asking for his stuff. So it's like. And
he asked yesterday too, by the way.
His stuff is at the church.
Oh, it is now?
I took it.
Oh, shoot.
So anyway, but the funny thing is that not only did they say, yeah, we'll call her for you, but he's given my card numerous times. They've made videos to send to me, say, hey, Lisa, come on. He needs his stuff or whatever. So it's really an embracing. He felt validated, and he felt good about, first off, me holding his stuff, and second off, the church reaching out to make sure that he gets his stuff.
Sure. And he's part of the congregation. He comes to worship. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we won't see him for a while, but he'll come to worship, not just because he wants something, his stuff.
Exactly.
He came. In fact, I had been gone for a week, and when I came back, he said, "Welcome back." And it was just, I felt so good that he had, noticed that I was gone for a week, and that he was glad to see me.
Right, and the thing about it is that that's a huge step for Eddie, because he doesn't talk to many.
Yeah.
And so he mostly keeps to himself or talks to himself, and he actually engages with our congregation, which is really lovely. So he feels extremely safe there.
Yeah, and it took him a while too.
Exactly.
It took him a while. As friendly as our people are, he has that shell up, but he's opening up too.
Exactly. So, you know what, Jesse, I appreciate you coming here to talk to me about this today, because it's really important that we understand what life is. So this isn't just about church ministry. This is about life, and it's about coming together at the table to have communication and to reach out to the folks in need, make sure that people aren't silenced just because they look differently or act differently than us. It's all of those things.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, I thank you for your time. I'm so grateful. You don't even know, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too, Lisa, and I appreciate the time, the effort, and the energy that you put into our church as an elder too.
Thank you. So next week, that's going to be it for A Seat at the Table this week. And next week, we have more exciting things. I know I said I'd post the schedule. I'm still trying to define it a little bit. But we do have the Chief Privacy Officer of Cisco coming up, Helen Harbitz, who is retired from probation, and she goes around the country educating folks. We have a lovely young lady I told you that was now it's almost 80 days sober, about ready to get her child back and getting housed. We have Tammy Ritter and Alex Brown going to come and talk to us about city and county issues. So we look forward to it. And again, this is A Seat at the Table, and I thank you.